Hello and welcome to the show. Having been playing quite a lot of, an awful lot of Forza Horizon 4 over the last few days, time has come for me to make my kind of, as close to a proper review, I guess, of games as I do. We're going to take an honest look at Forza Horizon 4. I have been enjoying myself on this game. The short version of this is a damn good game. It is a very, very good game. It isn't perfect. There are some things that I would like to see potentially changed, or some slight downsides. On the whole, though, it is a very, very enjoyable game. Quite possibly my favourite of the Horizon games, quite possibly my favourite of the Forza games, certainly at the moment. Truth be told, I do a lot of racing games. I play a lot of racing games. I spend most of my days playing racing games, and this is one that I want to play outside of doing filming. I just want to play the game. And in many ways, that is as high a praise as I can really give a game. But we're going to take a look a little bit more in depth about this. Let's start with, well, handling physics. You know, it's a driving game. It's a racing game. You're going to be driving cars all the time. The handling physics are very, very important. If you've played a previous Horizon or a previous motorsport game, they're going to feel immediately familiar. While there is slight changes to Horizon 3, it is along very, very similar lines. It is more arcadey than the motorsport series, but it's a very, very good handling model. It's everything's good fun to drive. Some cars are very difficult to drive, like when you put a 300 horsepower motorbike engine into a PLP-15. That doesn't drive very well, but it's not the handling model's fault. That's because I'm a muppet with my car building. It's a solid, always has been a good handling model. There are subtle tweaks, things like this off-road buggy. Well, it's probably not going to do it here because I'm on sand and there's not going to be the grip. These things will now go up on 3 wheels around corners without being a horrendous mess to drive. It's kind of quite fun. There is still the old Forza force in terms of building rolling cars. You need some rain to get them to fall over, which is a little bit of a shame, but perhaps not so much of a surprise. It's a similar thing we've seen in previous Forza games. If you have never been a fan of the Forza handling, if you've never been a fan of Horizon, this is unlikely to change your mind. It is along similar lines. It's very similar. While there are slight tweaks, it is very, very close. So it's perhaps not going to change your mind, but if you have enjoyed the games previous, which plenty of people have, this is going to suit you. It's going to feel immediately familiar, and you'll have fun driving the vehicles around twisty roads such as that one that we managed to stumble upon. The graphics, pretty damn solid, you know. It's a good looking game, this one. I'm playing it on the One X. I have gone for the frame, but you get when you fire up the game, I think you can change it any time. You get the option, do you want to go for a solid 60 frames a second with potentially lower graphics, or do you want to go for better graphics but 30 frames a second? I went for the frame rate. Of course, you're going to be playing this on PC. You might not have any of those issues, and I will probably download this on PC at some point because I want to see what it's like in amazing graphics mode. So it's an incredibly, incredibly pretty game. That's not a particular surprise. Forza games always have been very good looking, but this one, it is outstanding. It is absolutely outstanding, and it's helped by the map variety. While map size, it is about the same. I think it might be slightly larger overall, sort of square miles, meters, etc. It might be slightly larger overall than Horizon 3, but it's fairly similar in terms of size, but I prefer this map. It is more interesting to explore. There is more things to do. I'll just get rid of all the symbols because there's a lot of them. I think it's more interesting. It's more, I say, like, densely populated with things. You know, you'll be wandering through the forest and there'll be abandoned buildings. You've got an old, we actually started off by it, an old castle. I actually managed to travel a long way on the way over here. There's a castle. There's a motocross track somewhere down here, or Mudkicker's Adventure Park. It's essentially kind of like a motocross track. I look forward to building racetracks around there when the course creator comes out. The quarry's a little bit of a disappointment. I was hoping for a deeper kind of set quarry than the one that we've got. Still a fun place to go exploring. There's abandoned train yards. There's somewhere else. The airstrip isn't even like a big, get everything up to 250 miles an hour. It's a lot smaller. There's a split ramp. It's just a fun map. I find it is a fun map to go exploring. Yeah, there are fields to go crashing through if you want to. There's great variety in areas for what is not the largest map in the world. You've got a very large beach with some sand dunes that are great fun to go racing around, especially in a Baja Bug like this. You've got Edinburgh City, which is a very claustrophobic city. It's a very crowded little city. There are all sorts of mountain rally roads to tackle, mostly dirt rally roads. There aren't so many kind of mountain passes in terms of tarmac roads. Variety-wise, yeah, this has got, I think, Horizon 3 bit. You've also got the sort of woodlands with the muddy trails to be running around. I think we're coming into Edinburgh now somewhere. Yeah, well, this, you can see on the map. It looks like we found our way into into Edinburgh. It's a good map. It's a good map with lots of little details. I mean, Edinburgh is I say a close replica. There are bits that are very similar to the real city. I've only been here once, I think, but it's a fun place. It's a map you're going to want to explore. It's a map you're going to want to explore, and it's a map that gives me lots of ideas in terms of creativity, in terms of giving me ideas for challenges and so on. When it comes to a game like this, that's what I want from it. I like the Crew 2, do not get me wrong, and the Crew 2 map is considerably larger than this. You know, the Crew 2 map is absolutely huge. However, I think this map is more fun to drive around in. I get more ideas in many ways for challenges to do here than I do on the likes of the Crew, because of all the little details and the little bits and pieces that you can play around with. I like it. Yeah, there will be those that want a massive map, but I would rather have a smaller, more detailed map to explore around. Nothing worse than just reams and reams of big empty fields. So, for me, yeah, I like it. We're just going to fart around, apparently, in Edinburgh with a with a buggy, because why not? The next thing to talk about, well, it's about how the single player of this game works. When you first fire it up, as I'm sure many of you will be doing today, you've got the Ultimate Edition. When you first fire the game up, you'll go through a sort of tutorial. It's a 4 or 5 hour long tutorial. It'll take you through all of the various different seasons. Once you have got through all of the different seasons, you'll be dumped into Horizon Life. This is a persistent season. It will last a week for everybody. And you are... It's kind of MMO-y. You are stuck in this big open world. I don't know if I've got... let's turn these stuff back on, because I'm going to need to try and find some people. There will be players around. There are no drivatars wandering around this map after you've done the initial tutorial. You are in this big, persistent kind of open world. There'll be other players going about their own thing. Now, don't worry, they're not going to be able to interfere with you in these public sessions. Everyone is in ghost mode, so you can't crash and ruin somebody's runs who are attempting to do a speed trap or do drift zones and so on. I think in private stuff, private sessions, you'll be able to turn collisions on, of course, but for public stuff, kind of makes sense, you know, as much as it would be good to be able to have everybody playing together. It's a bit weird having ghost cars. I can perfectly understand why, because unfortunately there are those who are arseholes, and there will be those that would ruin the fun for everyone. So it makes sense that they've gone down that route for the public sessions. You can set it to be offline. I don't know if... you can play it perfectly well offline. I don't know if it will put drivatars in, potentially. I haven't actually tried it personally, but yeah, that's how the game works. However, there is a slight catch to this. While there can be, I think it's up to 100 people vaguely connected, only 12 people can actually be in a lobby. You can only have 12 people on screen at one time. I think it will connect you or display to the cars that are closest to you. So for me at the moment, there's all sorts of people around the place. There's some down here that, for example, I won't be connected to. Now that's okay when you're just doing open world exploring. You know, that's fine, because it doesn't matter if you're loading up a car over here. It's not relevant to me. However, when you are doing, and this is perhaps one of the bigger downsides in some ways, still limited to a 12-person lobby. And it seems like a little bit of a shame. I think from the first Horizon game even, we've had 12 people lobbies, and I can, understand maybe connecting with the whole persistent open worldy thing. More stable having only 12 cars and whatnot showing at once. Yeah, you don't need the cars the other side of the map. But, we're racing 24 cars in a race on Motorsport 7 now with, well, mostly relative ease. I would have liked to have seen bigger lobbies. I would have liked to have seen bigger lobbies to do racing with. It does seem a little bit on the restrictive side. Plus side for career mode. We'll get back to that. As you can see, there is a huge amount to do. There is, this is a very crowded map that we've got going on here. and there is a constant stream of things to be doing, from race series to the different various stunts. You've got the Forza Horizon Live stuff that we'll talk about in a little bit. There's billboards to collect, or not billboards, just normal boards. I'm in Burnout Paradise mode for whatever reason. There is a constant ream of stuff to do. It is quite impressive. If we just get rid of, let's just load up on the map, and you'll probably be using these filters a lot because the map is a little quite crowded actually. This is just the racing stuff to do. The races are broken down into their different, or into their categories. So you've got road racing, sort of straight up racing, dirt racing, which is on a set path, but it's either partly or mostly dirt. Cross country, where you are just bouncing across the terrain. There is drag racing somewhere. Where's the drag racing gone? There's one on the beach somewhere. Or maybe I didn't turn drag racing on. I didn't turn drag racing on. That'd be why. You got drag racing events. There are a few different drag strips around the place. And you have got street racing, which is, I mean, along the lines of the road racing, only rather than closed courses, you've got traffic to worry about. And each of these events have their own level, essentially. You level up, kind of make progress through here. Not only do you have a persistent driver level, you also have individual levels for each event. So road racing, I'm level 14 at the moment, I'm level 11 at dirt racing, and so on and so forth. And these give you awards, along with the awards you get for leveling up. Every time you level up, you get a wheel spin. Every time you level up with these, you get a different prize. I'm getting a super wheel spin for this, and there are special cars. For example, the drifting zones, I got an 05 BMW M3, and these cars can only be won by going through these areas. I got an Ultima from one of these somewhere around here. I got a Noble M600 was another car. So if there's a vehicle or vehicles you want to buy that aren't showing up in the auto show, chances are, you can buy them from the auction house, of course, but chances are they're locked in one of these categories, the Dodge Demon, for example. So there is a constant stream of awards, rewards for doing stuff. I mean, it's not just about the racing. You get level up in playground games and racing adventures, for doing the skill chains, for getting the danger signs, for exploring, finding roads and so on, collecting cars. When I get another 8,000 influence from buying cars, I'll get another super wheel spin, and so on. You are constantly rewarded. Stuff is constantly thrown at you in the game. Certainly in the early part, it will probably slow down the further you get in, of course, but stuff is constantly thrown at you. I've got 159 cars in my garage. Of course, some are VIP vehicles, and some are from wheel spins from a VIP, but I think I've bought about 5 or 6 cars for all of this, mostly for investigations and challenges. The rest came from wheel spins, from winning stuff. You're rewarded constantly, and that's great. That is a very, very good thing, because I want to go and get all the speed traps, because I want to go and get another wheel spin. I want to go and get a special edition car, or a car that I can't necessarily go out straight away and buy. So there is heaps to do, absolutely stacks to do, and you are constantly rewarded for it. The first few hours, you are almost permanently doing wheel spins and getting new cars. It's fantastic fun. It really is. The championship-wise for the events are done based on the season that you are in. Now, I don't know if this is going to be actually, what have we got running at the moment? I don't know whether this is going to be always the same. So your races can be done as an exhibition, just a sort of a one-off race, with all of them. But there are these championships that will pop up every season. I think some of the speed zones and that sort of stuff as well. This one here, for example, has a higher objective for the summer season we're in at the moment, to kind of keep you going back and trying different things. The championships will be, normally you can just turn up to one of these events. You could do a blueprint event to make it whatever you want, or you could turn up and run whatever you've got. The game will generally pick a suitable sort of class for you. The championships can be more restrictive. This one, for example, wants a B-class classic muscle car. Some of them are a one-make thing. I've had one that was wanting to use the James Bond Aston DB5. Where are the other seasonal events gone? Somewhere around the place. And these are three race championships that will generally use races that are around. They can be a mix of a circuit, a road racing event. Sometimes you can get like a circuit race and a dirt race put together. Quite interesting, because you're sort of locked to using whatever class it is. In this case, modern supercars. I don't know whether they're going to change. So whether next time we come around to summer, whether it's going to be the same championships or whether they're going to cycle around to different events. Again, There are stacks. I spent a lot of hours on this game, and while I have completed most of the sort of exhibition races, I'm nowhere near completing. I started going through the speed traps yesterday, completing these, and I've got most of them now, but I'm nowhere near completing everything. And this is just the single-player stuff. This is just doing all of this stuff. Not only are there these different chapters for the road racing, there's these special chapters. So you've got Stunt Driver, you've got La Racer, which is essentially kind of racing cars related to classic video games, like you drive the Ferrari from Outrun and that sort of stuff. There is your showcase races. We've got Halo special showcase over there. Where are the other showcases going? Where you race against like a hovercraft and a Vulcan bomber. There we go, down there. I think there are slightly less of the showcase races this time around, but then there are more of these sort of special chapters. There's a drift one somewhere over here. There we go, Drift Club. Yeah, there's a huge, silly amount of stuff to do, and you are constantly being given prizes for doing it. You're constantly getting new cars. Money is not too bad at all to earn. I've spent a fair amount of it, but money isn't too bad to earn. Cars are, I'd say, fairly expensive. Your most expensive is going to be 10 million. Quite a few cars hanging around the 10 million mark. Most expensive actual thing to buy is Edinburgh Castle at 15 million. So there is a fair bit of late game, kind of end game stuff. As far as multiplayer goes, outside of kind of private lobbies, private stuff, you've got team adventures, which are quite an interesting little thing. It'll be a can be up to a 6v6. It will take place over 5 different events. These can be playground games, racing, or a mix of the two. There's another part that you'll gain XP for doing. Gain XP for the event. There's an overall level for playground games and for adventures and so on their own. There is also the Forzathon Live Challenge, which is actually about to start now. I don't know. I mean, I could jump over there. They're kind of very reminiscent of Burnout Paradise, these. You will be competing. You've got 15 minutes to complete a series of challenges. There'll be 3 different of these, I guess, PR stunts. Whether it be a danger sign, whether it be a speed trap, whether it be a drift zone. It kind of follows after each other, and you've got to get through all those. I think I've got some footage of it lying around. You all work together, 12 of you will work together to try and beat a kind of overall combined score for each section. You've got to try and do it within the time. It is a little bit straightforward at the moment. They're fun to do. Don't get me wrong. They are good fun to do. And as I said, it's very, very Burnout Paradise-y in the feel. However, they are pretty straightforward. I've never even got close to failing them, even when I've been using silly cars. The time limit is fairly lenient. It is fairly kind to it. So, yeah, you will get through them relatively easily. However, apparently my car's making a funny noise. Thanks for that, Eagle. You're making a very funny noise. There we go. I completely lost my train of thought. Yeah, they're fun enough to do. I would like to see them perhaps get a little bit tougher, and they may well do at some point along the way. They may well get tougher. There may well be different challenges or a stricter time limit. You can change cars while doing it, which for me personally is a little bit of a shame. I'd like to see it force you to use whatever car you started with, because you'll just get to an event and go, oh, okay, we're drifting on dirt, let's get an all-wheel drive rallycross car. Oh, we need a speed trap, let's get the fastest straight line speed car I've got. It would be fun just to force you. Again, it might be something we see with these challenges appearing as the game goes on, but it's a fun little addition outside of the normal, multiplayer racing and so on. While I'm on the subject of Forzathon Live, it's kind of an important part. The wheel spins and whatnot can be purchased, but they are only purchasable with Forzathon points. Now, you gain these from doing the live events. You also gain these from doing the various challenges that go on. There are daily challenges, there are weekly challenges, and so on. So, for example, the weekly challenge at the moment is doing stuff with a retro hot hatch. Own and drive one. I should have done that. I could do that because I've got plenty. Get ultimate speed skills, win street race, and so on and so forth. These earn you Forzathon points, which can then be used in the shop. You can buy normal wheel spins, you can buy super wheel spins, you can buy rare clothes, horns, cars. You can spend points rather than actual credits on them, and Forza Edition cars will turn up here as well. You can't buy these with money. There's no microtransactions, and I'd be very surprised, having had them all pulled from earlier Forza games. I doubt we're going to go down that route again with this. It's all stuff you earn from the live events. The live events go on every hour, I believe, and they're only a 10-minute distraction, but it'll pop up, and if you're not necessarily doing anything immediately, you go, oh yeah, I'll run over there, we'll see what cars other people bring. It's just a fun little fun little event. Again, it just feeds into this idea of there is constantly stuff to do. It's just constantly stuff to be doing in this game. I'm going to jump into one of the houses. Houses are a thing. Oh, apparently a bench or a fence. I don't quite know. A bit of wood just shot off the front of the Eagle. Houses are now a thing that you can own. Now, I was hoping for a more Test Drive Unlimited 2 style of house owning. Unfortunately, that is not the case here. It's fun, but these essentially act as the replacements for the festival sites. In previous Forza games, in previous Horizon games, sorry, there were multiple festival sites around the place that you could teleport to, that you could use to buy cars and upgrade cars. Now there's only one. There's one main festival site and that's it. Your houses act as the sort of subsidiary ones, outside places where you can go and buy vehicles and tune cars and so on. Which is fine. Yeah, you have to buy them yourself. Some of them unlock various perks. You're going to want things like Teleport Anywhere perk. One is for the skill songs on the radio, and the other one, I can't remember. There's another one. I'll maybe find it later. Again, it's a fun enough system, but I was hoping for a little bit more. You can't walk around the house. This is as close as you can get to walking around the house. You can't walk around the house. You can't have your cars in a garage. You can't even park your cars out the front of it. And what Test Drive did so very well with its house owning was create this sense of ownership with the cars. You know, you had your garage that you could walk around if you wanted. You had your house you could walk around a little bit of. You had the showrooms you could walk around. And while it's fun having houses that you can buy, it's just a slightly different texture on a festival site, basically. I would have liked to have seen maybe a little bit more. I mean, all you had to do was have some of your cars, you know, maybe you had to sort your cars into what you wanted displayed in each house. You know, sort your cars out, park some of my other cars collection around here. Doesn't even necessarily have to have me walk around the house even, but have some of them parked around here rather than just, yeah, act as another festival site. I wouldn't go as far as to say it's a letdown, because ultimately it doesn't detract from the game being fun, but I felt like there could have perhaps been a little bit more to it, because this is the screen you're going to see 90% of the time when you're here, which is exactly the same as the screen you're going to see when you're in the main festival site. And you're actually having to now pay money to buy these houses rather than, you know, just unlock them when you get to a certain point. Although, again, it does give you endgame stuff to, you know, strive to own. Edinburgh Castle is 15 million. It's going to take you a while to get that money to buy that castle. There's another castle that's 10 million. So, yeah, I feel like it could have been more, but it doesn't detract from the fun. Vehicle list, well, that's kind of why I came here. Vehicle list is good. Vehicle list is very good. There are a couple of downsides. Well, I say a couple of downsides. There are a couple of bummers. Toyota still being silly with licensing, and Mitsubishi joining in the fun of the silly buggers. We've had this before. We had this with Volkswagen for a little while. It is a shame that we are seeing this happen. There are 3 Toyotas: the Land Cruiser, the Hilux, and the Baja. The same as you got in Motorsport 7, bar the... Oh, that's actually come out today. Cool. Okay, I've got DLC car. Well, I say DLC car. DLC's being done differently. We'll come to that in a minute. As well, the Triumph is here, so let's grab that. I've lost my train of thought massively in all of this. Car list is very good, though. You know, if you are the biggest Mitsubishi fan in the world, it sucks there aren't any Evos. It sucks there's not a Legnum. Not that I expected that, but it sucks that there isn't any Evos in the game. However, well, Playground Games can't really do much about that one. When car companies are being funny with licensing, there is only so much that you can do. And there aren't plenty of exciting cars. There are plenty of interesting cars to play around with. You've got your modern vehicles, you know, you've got your Abarth Spider, you've got the new NSX, you've got the madly quick Giulia, but you've also got unexpected ones. It's actually really nice to see Ascari back. I'd like to see the A110, but it's nice to see Ascari back full stop in a game. I mean, I'm always interested in the classic cars that we get, and of course, being set in Britain, we get all sorts of interesting British classic cars that we might not have seen either for a while, in the case of the Healey Sprite or the Austin, the 3000 Mark II. We've got the 8-litre Bentley, first appearance since Forza 4, and Forza 4 is only a Forza Vista car. You know, you can sort of poke around and have a look at it. It's a good list of vehicles. It's a good list of vehicles. It'll have whatever your favourite car is. It'll have all sorts of, you know, firm favourite vehicles, and then there are unusual things. Eagle Speedster, of course, is back, and there's a Mercedes Unimog in here. There is a Fiesta rally car, kind of like a blank slate Fiesta rally car, if you like, in all of that. They're DLC, but there are Formula Drift cars now in all of this. It's a fun list, you know. It isn't the most expansive list of all time. It's 450 odd cars. Oh, that's come out today as well. The Agera, yeah, the Agera RS is in the game. Isn't the most expansive list ever, but it is, yeah, very good indeed. Upgrade-wise, upgrades for vehicles, well, there's not much change. There is not a huge amount of change in terms of upgrading cars. There are some new engines, which is good to see. There are new engine swaps that we haven't seen before. If I've got an Agera, it's probably not a good car to show this, because let's face it, you're not going to be swapping the engine out of this. Yeah, there are new engine swaps to contend with. The buggy that I was messing around with at the start, where have we gone? Somewhere over here. Here we go. The Baja Bug gets a new turbo rally engine. There's a new sort of turbo rally engine, a 2-litre flat 4 turbo rally, which will be coming from a Subaru, essentially. The actual main, let's say the normal turbo rally engine, that's got a buff to it. It'll get up towards 700 horsepower. This turbo rally engine has 800 torque. That's a lot. It's a lot of torque. This is fully modified. Well, actually, it's not quite fully modified because I didn't go for the racing cams. The racing cams will give you considerably more power, 645, but it actually takes away a bunch of torque, and I wanted more torque, so I left it without them. Yeah, so you've got a new turbo rally engine. There's a new sort of classic British V8, a 3.9 litre V8. You've got the racing V12 engine can be swapped in. Of course, the Unimog can get the Volvo Racing Trucks engine, the Iron Knight's massive 2,400 horsepower engine. There is a fair bit more, and there may be more engines that I've just not come across yet. There might be more. I think pretty much all of the engines that have been in the game are back, as far as I'm aware. I haven't found any that haven't been in here, and there are more added on to that, which is great. However, the rest of the upgrades are largely the same. You know, you're going to have the same brakes, you're going to have the same suspension as we've always seen. Your tuning is the same as it has always been. There's nothing wrong with it. You know, there's nothing wrong with it whatsoever. It's a good system, and it's worked very well for many years now. You do have the, if you've got drift suspension on the car, you can do the steering, or the steering lock like you can on Forza 7. There is, yeah, just nothing particularly different, if you like, added to it. There is a new category of tyre that we'll see on classic cars, which does actually make a difference. If we can go and grab, I've got a classic car hanging around somewhere. I should think of a good classic car I can show some engine swaps in as well. Where's my MG gone? That's a fairly decent one for engine swaps. Having the beefed up turbo rally engines is quite nice as well, in that some of the small cars can now actually get quite a lot of power that would normally have got a turbo rally with about 400 horsepower, can now get near enough 700 horsepower, which is always a good thing. Always a good thing in a racing game. Yeah, new tyre compound. We've got vintage race tyres, which are not just a retexture of actual race tyres. They have a different grip value, which is a fun little addition. I'm kind of surprised. I thought about it a little bit before. I'm surprised to see it in Horizon game over Motorsport, as it could be a fun restriction for sort of classic race series. However, just having those is a good option. Very expensive, though. I will say that much. But yeah, it's a nice thing to have. And most cars, well, there are of course some exceptions. Most cars have a decent number of engine swaps. If you want to get a little bit mad, it goes 3.9 litre V8, 6.2 V8, of course, and turbo rally, etc., etc. So yeah, there is a similar thing with the upgrading shop. The new engines are very good fun to play around with. What car shall we go? Shall we go grab the? You know what? Seeing as I've just found it, let's go and grab the. That's a buy car. That's not in a my car. I will say the UI is going to take a bit getting used to. I'm not a big fan at the moment of this system. It feels a little bit clunky to use. While it's perfectly responsive, it's a lot more responsive than Forza 7 was initially, cycling your way through here. Feels a little bit clunky, especially on the car selection screen. I don't know. It's one of those that I can't quite describe, but it does feel a little bit clunky trying to work your way through all of this. It's okay. It's you know, perfectly usable. I don't know. It might just be me, although I have seen a few people say similar things. Oh, DLC cars before we move on. DLC cars. If you have the car pass, it's being done differently. Rather than one car pack a month, it's actually being done weekly. So every week you get 2 new cars. Start this week, Agera, the Triumph. Next week, Sentra and Spirit R. You get some Porsches. The 959 Dakar is coming, which is really cool. i8 Roadster. Personally, not too fussed about that one, but we get a new rallycross car in the form of the Civic Coupe. It's a slightly different system, slightly different way of doing the DLC. I'm okay with it. You know, ultimately you're going to get, I think, the same number of cars as you would, but it's just they're more spread out. It's a fun enough system. Don't have any problems with that one. Let's go for a drive with the Agera. Oh, I got a massive level up, probably from owning some more cars. Shall we do a wheel spin? Sure. Why not? Because it's just like, yeah, buying cars, collecting cars, doing bits and pieces. As I said at the start, this stuff here is thrown at you very, very regularly. A couple of things I do want to talk about before we do give a final sort of summary. The roads on the map. Well, I said I very much like the map in terms of its variety, in terms of what we have there. You will notice it is pretty wide with the roads. Even these single carriageway roads, yeah, are fairly wide. There are a couple of quite narrow places, but sure, on the whole, they are relatively wide roads. And it is something that I've talked about before, wanting more technicality in terms of the map. And if you are wanting your properly technical British B roads where you can barely fit 2 cars wide, you're not really going to find that here. What I will say in terms of making up for that is technicality in terms of course design. If we take a look at, for example, actually this could be really awkward to show, isn't it? Because it's going to bring up that. That's kind of okay. This is an average circuit on the game. On Horizon 3, everything was just about high speed on the most part. There were one track that you could maybe say was a little bit more handling orientated, but everything was about high speed. Now around here, because of the way the circuits have been selected, the way the circuits have been designed, and this is just from the games one before we start getting into the course creator, which isn't out until next month, most of the circuits are now properly difficult. I mean, over here, for example, that is a horrendously technical circuit. That is not an easy track to drive. The point-to-point races are faster, but you've still got technical bits along the way. So while the roads, yes, are fairly wide throughout, to me, it makes up for it by having now technical circuits. It makes sense in some ways to have the wider roads while, you know, when you're going to be cruising around up here. Yeah, this road here, for example, is more designed for the likes of the Agera here in mind, being able to push this car pretty fast. However, in terms of when you're racing down said road against AIs or against players, if you're going to be trying to go 2 and 3 wide down the road, you're actually trying to be doing, you know, proper racing through that road. It actually means you stand a chance, especially if you're going to be racing things like a Unimog or the Iron Knight. It's a trade-off. I'm okay with having these roads be a little wider so that we can have fun racing, because the circuits are fun. The circuits that they have made up and the circuits that I will be able to make up, hopefully, will, yeah, make up for that. We'll be able to be technical enough to make handling cars successful, to make handling cars important, to make it not all about the huge amounts of power. Shall we go send a... You know what? Let's go for it. We'll send an Agera for a fly. There's random stuff to do down here. I've just found it dangerous. There wasn't a great jump, but... so, yeah. You might be disappointed by not having the properly narrow roads. I personally am okay with it. It's made up in other areas. There is relatively low traffic. There is relatively low traffic going on around here. In fact, I haven't actually seen much traffic at all at the moment, which is unusual. It is normally fairly quiet, but this seems exceptionally quiet today. Again, I'm presuming it is more done to not having your racing, you know, constantly ruined. It can be quite irritating trying to go through a bloody speed zone and every time, or a drift zone, and every time there's a damn civilian car in the way. It does make the place feel fairly quiet. Made up for a little bit by being kind of constantly online as players doing whatever it is that players do around for a lot of it. But yeah, it does at times feel a little bit quiet. The traffic can also be a touch glitchy, being always online, if you like. There are times where civilian cars or the traffic cars will be in ghost mode for you. I think if you end up slightly out of sync, you end up with ghost traffic cars. You then get lazy and get used to dealing with ghost traffic cars, and then all of a sudden the occasional real one will pop into the mix. That's more a fault on my end, but it's, yeah. I actually don't know where any of the car. Apparently, we've lost all sign of traffic. Well, it's a helpful time to talk about it. If you're playing it sort of single player, if you're just wandering around the map, it is a bit quiet. Certainly not a deal breaker for me. I'm not expecting heavy traffic around here, but you know, if you were wanting a little bit more liveliness from the AI cars, then well, you're not really going to find it. The lakes and so on are also pitifully shallow. Just seeing that big old thing over there, they are quite entertaining. I mean, it's great in that you can just about explore most of it with your cars. However, I mean, these giant lakes, I don't know how, this might be the edge of the map, so it might not be. Oh yeah, here we go. I mean, this is the main lake. It might be the main lake. You can drive a long way through the water. It's a little bit silly, but it does leave the map that little bit more able to be explored. If you like, I managed to stall my car and got it stuck in here. This is not a good car for exploring the water. The Baja bug considerably better at punching through the water, as you can imagine. Come on, Kovacic, let's get out of here. The final thing that I do want to say, in terms of review, there is another downside to all of this. There is, and I can't believe we're having to have this conversation again, but we are. There is no class-based rivals. I don't understand why this decision has been made again. However, this is the Rivals mode. You can race around, I think, any track in the game in Rivals mode. Unfortunately, they are all set to either a specific class, S2 hypercars, or a one-make series. Now, don't get me wrong. I like time trial challenges. I like one-make races, and having this as an option is fine. You know, see how fast you can get a Diablo SV around there, or a 944, etc. That's fine. However, when I want to build a car to, let's say, A class, and I want to see if it's any good, I want to be able to time trial it around a circuit easily, and you can't. There are ways around it. If you want to go and find, you know, how fast a car goes around X circuit, well, you go and do the race, let the AI bugger off, and then time trial however many laps you set up. You can do it, it's just a faff, and I don't understand why we got to this point where we're doing this again, essentially. This was a problem with Forza 7. It is less important in Horizon 3, as this is more of a fun game, you know. While I'm still going to build cars, we're still going to do races built to a certain class. I know a lot of people aren't too fussed about doing that in a game, more about exploring, more about having fun. And yeah, it will be less of an effect on this one, and I am going to say that I hope the course creator updates and so on will change this. That's going to be a fairly big thing, and maybe even if the game's basic rival modes don't allow you to do you know, A class or whatever, I can use the course creator to create my own rivals modes, essentially. I'm still not sure why it is we've got this exact same situation again. It's a shame. It is only a small thing in the grand scheme of things. There's still plenty of stuff to be having fun with around here. But yeah, I'm not sure on on that decision. But there we go. So to sum it all up, to sum up Horizon 4, it is a brilliant game. It is a brilliant game, and I've had an awful lot of fun with it. Just said at the start. Ultimately, I spend a lot of time playing racing games, and this is a racing game that I'm wanting to just play around on for fun. Outside of just doing, doing work, making up challenges and so on. It's one that I want to explore more, I want to play more, I want to get all the speed traps on, because it's fun. It's fun to do that. There are lots of crazy cars to build. It isn't perfect. There are some things that may irritate you. It is fairly similar to, it's similar to Horizon 3, and if you really didn't like Horizon 3, you don't know whether enough has changed to really convince you. I would say it is similar to Horizon 3, but just about everything is that little bit better. Just about everything is that little bit better. There's a little bit more interesting a map. The courses are better balanced. The cars are bloody varied. The cars are mad. Well, some of them can be very mad. Everything it does, it will do a little bit better. Some areas like the housing, I mean, there is a business, I say a business thing. I mean, I wouldn't call it that. One of the little chapters that you own up here is a World's Fastest Rentals, where's it called there? And it's technically called a business in as far as once you've got it to completed all 30 stars, you'll earn about 12,000 credits a day from it. You know the old on motorsport games where you've got so many credits for your driver tars appearing in races? I can earn 12,000 credits in about a 5-minute race. It's irrelevant, which is a shame. It could have been expanded into something a little bit more with the different areas. It isn't. Things like that, and things like the houses. I'd love to have been able to have cars parked out in the garage, in a garage area, and so on. It doesn't stop the game from being fun. It doesn't stop the enjoyment of the game whatsoever. Just would have perhaps liked to see a little bit more. Overall, I love the game. I do. I think it is the best of the Horizon games, and I am very much looking forward to playing more of it. I'm looking forward to testing out mad challenge ideas on it. I've already got plenty from my first few days of playing with all sorts of different cars, all sorts of interesting environments and routes. I think the course creator will make a fair big jump. I mean, if you are on the fence about this game, potentially wait until the course creator comes out. I think that will potentially do a lot of things. This is a very, very big flight to finish with. If you're really on the fence about things like not having a class-based rivals, I think the course creator might fix that. Overall, I think it would be hard not to have fun with this game. I think it would be very, very hard not to have fun with this, because there is so much different stuff to do, so many different things to try out. You'll be able to find something to enjoy with it, and I think that is going to be it. That is going to about sum up this game. Thank you all very much for watching, and until next time, goodbye.